Welcome. This is Her America. I'm your host, Chaida. FYI, if you hear some noisy thing going on in the background, I have a heater on. It's very cold in the house. The heat is out, so maintenance will be coming in a few days. So I have a space heater that you can plug in and basically heats up your entire room or living situation. So I really appreciate for everyone's understanding on this issue. So I will just roll right into it. Today I'm going to be talking about identity issues because it's one that has always dawned on me for the longest time. I used to get really upset when people ask me where I'm from. And I don't know why I would get upset. I would tell them I'm from Maryland because that is where I was born and raised. When people hear that answer, they don't expect anywhere near the United States. They're probably expecting some country in Africa or probably the islands because I have an accent. And sometimes I hear it, sometimes I don't. And based on how I present myself sometimes I like to wear my hair in very cultural styles. So people are expecting some different answer other than a state in America. I have two biological parents who are both migrants, and they both migrated here from the Democratic Republic of Congo. So I have family still in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And so that's where my origin of my family is from on both sides. So yes, I do, even though my nationality is American, my ethnicity is Congolese. And I'm very proud of my cultural roots. And I'm even proud to be an American. So yes, I have the best of both worlds. But today is about whether you want to be called a Black American or an African American, because this is an argument that has basically torn through the Black community for the longest I could remember. There are a lot of Black people who would prefer the term Black American because they don't want to be associated with being called an African American, because the term African is associated with the continent of Africa. And most Blacks will say, well, I'm not from Africa. I'm not from the continent of Africa or any nation in Africa for that matter. So why would I be called African American? For me personally, I do not care if people refer to me as a Black American or an African American, because I just don't really have strong ties to either term. So if you were to refer me as an African American, I wouldn't correct you. If you call me a Black American, I also wouldn't correct you on that either, because to be honest, I can see why a lot of people will refer to me as an African American versus a Black American and vice versa. There is a subreddit called Too Afraid to Ask, and one person who goes by the username, I'm going to check, Himaji. I'm not sure if I am pronouncing that correctly. And he asked, do Black people prefer to be called Black, African American, or something else? And he comments, I have I have a hard time keeping up with what's socially appropriate and what's not. I'm happy to call someone whatever they want to be called. It's no burden on me, but it's often hard to parse through all the BS to get to what people want to be called. One subreddit user said black. That's it. He just said the word black. Another said, in my experience, the word black is never an issue as long as you aren't using it as a noun. And obviously, context matters, but the word itself isn't a problem. The person is black. That person is not a black. Those people are black. They are not blacks. Using it like a noun gives it this weird us versus you separation that has uncomfortable implications. The comment goes on, but yeah. Another user said, nowadays, African American as a term has also found use to describe the specific ethnicity that has formed from Black Americans descended from the enslaved, as in people from Africa that moved to America would not usually be considered African American. Skipping forward, although it's still not really a great term in the first place, and it's obviously why people tend to avoid it to describe themselves, even as members of the ethnicity it comes to describe. And this subreddit page just goes on forever. And when the person asks the question, do you want to be called Black, African American, or something else? I've already made my declaration. You can call me a Black American or an African American. I'm not really too into the word salad game, so it is what it is. I think it wasn't until the movie Black Panther came out that people decided that it's okay to embrace your African roots a little bit. Because I saw when that movie came out in 2018, it kind of gave this cultural empowerment, especially to the African community specifically. Now, it's cool to have roots in African culture, and I kind of felt sort of skeptical about this, because even though it's really great for people to embrace their ethnicity, embrace where they're from and their roots and all, suddenly it's becoming trendy to be considered an African American or being close to any African identity. And to me, that just rubs me the wrong way, because based on how I grew up and how people perceived me, it just made me feel small when people didn't acknowledge that I was an American. So, going forward with this, I think people shouldn't take too much consideration into or let a specific term hold so much power over their identity. Because at the end of the day, it's not about whether we're Black, white, African American, Black American, brown American. We all come from somewhere. And our ancestry is rooted so deeply that even most of us in the Black community, some of our ancestry can be traced back to the continent of Africa. And obviously I'm not a researcher on this matter, so I could be wrong on it, but I don't want this term or this argument to create such a wage in the Black community, because at the end of the day, we're all sort of brothers and sisters. I consider all of us as fellow human beings, and we're all seen as perfect in God's image. So it shouldn't really matter what someone calls us at the end of the day. For me, I know who I am. I am an American, and I also have roots in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and I'm proud of my roots, and I'm proud of being American, and you should too be proud of your roots. If your ethnicity is different from your nationality, you can be proud of both. So with that being said, thank you so much for listening. This has been Her America.